Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you've been having a very good week. I'm Cathy W. Welcome to the October 10th chat. Warm welcome, everyone, to Yarn with Heart. Do you have cups and yarn ready? Let's settle in for a Friday visit. Today, in addition to sharing about a couple of finished blankets and a cute baby vest, I will be sharing about one of my projects that I made for the Smaller Than a Breadbox make-along. Also, a work in progress that I almost gave up on, and a quick mention about why there might not be quite as many Friday videos over the next couple of weeks. Maybe let's start there. For the next few weeks, quite out of the blue, Jeff and I have a contractor here doing some renovations in the apartment. At first, it seemed to be something that wouldn't take too long. However, there seems to be extra complications and might need some extra time. Just wanting to let you all know, I will try my best to have the usual Friday videos during this time. If something unexpected happens and you don't see me on a Friday, please don't worry. All is well with me. If I can, I will post in the community page about it. And if I cannot even do that, if there happens to not be a Friday video, you will know that all is well here. I am just sitting somewhere with my yarn without internet. Picture me happily knitting or crocheting in a library or a coffee shop somewhere. And now on to better things. I'm so happy that many of you joined me in learning new things by participating in the Something New Make-Along. Details about the make-along this month are in the October 6th video. This month, for my project, I am double dipping. I am making a tote bag for the first time ever, and this pattern is called Cathy's Extra Large Recycle Bag. It is a design by Esther York, and it's a paid pattern on Ravelry. Now, why it is a double dip, along with my Something New Make-Along, this one is for Lara. She has a What's in a Name Make-Along, where you find a pattern with your first name in it. I had a lot of fun looking for a pattern that had Cathy or Catherine as part of the name. You can pop over to Laura's channel, that is Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming, for all the details about this make-along, and maybe you can find your first name in a pattern and join this make-along too. So this is what I'm working on so far. There we go. And I'm using these two yarns. They're from Cambridge Fibers 1 pound bags, and I have no idea they came without a ball band, so I don't know what kind of yarn they are. They're fine worsted yarns though, quite thin worsted yarns, and I am double stranding this to make this one. So there we go. It's called a recycle bag, but I'm going to be making it into a project bag. There's that first project. Now, speaking of make-alongs, the Smaller Than a Breadbox make-along will have its first ever slideshow this coming Friday on October 17th. If you have a picture to include this month, please email your picture of your smallers, which are makes between 6 inches to 12 inches in size, to me by end of day on October 14th. I'm looking forward to this first slideshow of the Smaller Than a Breadbox make-along. And thank you so much to those who have sent in their pictures. Here is a peek at one of my finished items for that one. It is a pattern by the Kitchen Sink Shop, a free pattern on Ravelry called My Favorite Things. And now a second work in progress and some finished items. Now when it comes to works in progress, one of the things that I'd been working on this week, I should start with this one, yeah. One of the things I've been working on this week is a blanket. This is called the Feather and Fan Rainbow Baby Blanket. It's designed by Cathy, Waldie. It's a free pattern available on Ravelry. And for this one, I started with 5mm needles for the first few rows, and then for the rest of the blanket, I switched to 5.5mm needles. This blanket caused me a bit of a challenge. At first, using the starting casting on suggested by the pattern, the width was way too wide for a wheelchair lapgan. So I frogged it, and I tried reducing by 2 multiples, which was 36 stitches fewer, and I measured at about 3 inches tall, and it looked just right. Then I measured again at about 6 inches tall, and the wave pattern caused it to narrow more. It was too narrow for a wheelchair lapgan. So I frogged it again, and now doing 1 multiple less than the pattern called for, that is 18 stitches less, all is going well. And the color that I'm using is called Shirley Temple. The yarn is Lion Brand Ice Cream Roving Divagation. And the reason I chose this yarn is that it matches colors in the book cover of the month for Rosanna from Crochet and Knit with Nona Rosanna. And she has a different book cover each month. And yet another work in progress. This is a shawl pattern. It's a weekly game that Judy from Judy's Creations in Crochet is hosting on her channel. And each week, Judy is rolling 2 dice, and those will indicate the color to use and the number of rows to make of the pattern. She had 2 pattern options, and the one I'm working, I think it's the same pattern that she is, and it's called the Achilles pattern by Silke Terhorst. I'm trying it with some yarn from my stash, and if I stay with this yarn, I will let you know more about the colors and the yarn that I'm using next week. So those are my 6 colors temporarily until I make sure that this one is going to work well with this pattern. And there's my start on the shawl, which has a very interesting shape. I've never worked a shawl in this shape before. And now for the finished items. These are ones that I started during September, and they sort of languished for a while. I'm happy to be finishing them now. First, a baby blanket. This is using a pattern that I received as part of a blog hop that Helen from Sunflower Cottage Crochet hosts every year. The event was called the Preemie Crochet Challenge, and some of the patterns are still available as blog posts if you would like to check for them. This is another where you can pledge to donate 1 or more items in a particular design Donations can be made to a family in need, to a NICU department, or to any organization that is spreading warmth to those in need. This blanket will be donated to Casting Off the Cold, and Casting Off the Cold will bring it to a local women's shelter. I will link to Helen's website below in case you'd like to see some of the patterns from this year and perhaps sign up for her email so you will be notified when she starts the challenge next year. Now, the first pattern that I downloaded this year was a blanket, and for this blanket the pattern is now available as a paid pattern. It's called Heart Lovey and designed by Owl Bee Hooked. I modified this one to make it the 30-inch square that's required by Casting Off the Cold, and the way that I modified it is by replacing the border with a moss stitch blanket border instead. Now, the yarn that I used is new to me. It's a James C. Brett Baby Marble double knit, and I used the colors BM 37 and one skein of BM 38, and I used a 5mm hook to make it. And you can see here there's a cute little filet crochet heart there in the corner of the blanket. Now, the second pattern that also was part of that challenge is a pattern by Mary Beth Temple. Usually I make a hat to go with the baby blankets that I donate. This time I changed things up a bit and made a wee tiny vest. The pattern by Mary Beth is called Saltwater Taffy Preemie Cardigan. Again, I received this as part of Helen's Preemie Challenge. There's a paid version available currently on Ravelry and a link to the free version on her blog. To make this, I used the same yarn as the blanket and a 5mm hook. Also, instead of making the sleeves on the cardigan, after a conversation with some friends, decided to modify the pattern and make it a little vest. So I finished the sleeve area with 2 rows of single crochet. Otherwise, I worked the pattern as written. And that brings me to another finished item that I started in September, and this one is a Lapgan blanket. The design is by Becky Pickett from Measured and Stitched. The pattern is called Soft Clusters Crochet Throw Blanket. The yarn that I used is Hirschner's Worsted 8. I know a couple of the colors are Tea Rose, Black, Deep Woods Green, and medium gray, but I don't know this burgundy or cranberry sort of colored stripe. I'm not sure what that color is. I adjusted the starting chain and started with 82 stitches, and I used a 6mm crochet hook for this one. Here we go. So that was a nice blanket to work on. I enjoyed doing that. And I think it'll make a nice cozy lapgan for somebody. And now to end off the video, a quote for the day. The quote is from page 131 in this book, which is called Knit Along, Celebrating the Tradition of Knitting Together. It's by Larissa Brown and Martin John Brown. So they write here, about something called making a magic yarn ball. Imagine making from a ball of yarn and every so often finding a trinket or tiny tool as you unwind. Inside is a stitch marker, a bit of ribbon, or a set of new buttons. At the heart of this ball, you find a small round pincushion, an intriguing vintage row counter, or a ball of translucent handmade soap. The magic yarn ball is a gift that delivers this experience to a crafter whom you want to surprise and delight. It's a perfect project for a swap among two dear friends. This was inspired by a project in the book, The Children's Year, Hawthorne Press. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your crochet, enjoy your knitting, and I hope to see you next video.